What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. It is Monday afternoon. We have completed our 4th of 5 weeks before the Major 2 qualifier in Miami. I wasn't supposed to go to Miami, but since I actually recorded the last tier list video, I'm actually going to be going to Miami. So more on that later this week. We got to dive in and cover the tier list. Some interesting movement this week. It's still the 4 teams and everybody else. Let's take a look at the tier list from last week, make some adjustments, and lock in our rankings for the final week of online qualifiers for Major 2. All right, here you go. Here is a list from last time we did it. As always, a refresher, I don't do the letter thing. Although maybe actually this season I might need to start doing the letter thing. I don't know. But in past years, I've done it this way. Sunday regulars are top 3, top 4 teams. Potential contenders are anyone in the top 6, top 8 that I think has a chance of winning. Work to do is usually teams that have one, two, a couple of flaws, maybe on the edge of roster change, and missing pieces are teams that I think are bound to make a change to their roster. So let's go in. We're going to start top to bottom. We're going to start with Toronto Ultra. All right, first up, we have the Toronto Ultra. They lost to OPTIC in their only match this week. It was in a game 5. Toronto won both hard points, but lost both searches and the control. I think it's clear that with Skid Row Search, coming out of the pool, they have a little bit of a map pool problem in Search in Destroy. And so I think that they should give Invasion, they've already played it during the split, a little bit more of a run in series like this and not like playing OPTIC on Karachi. That was a bit of a decision. They tried Terminal. It didn't work out well. I don't know. Map pool and S&D a little bit interesting for Toronto. It's hurt them. It's FaZe now hurt them against OPTIC. Let's see against Thieves if they adjust going this major. But some warning signs for Toronto. That gap between them and everybody else is kind of closed a bit. Next up, we have the Atlanta FaZe. And they continued things this week with 2 nice 3-0 victories over Thieves and the Minnesota Rocker. They're just kind of really just sort of in cruise control as a team right now. Obviously, there's only been like 4 or 5 upsets this year amongst the top 4 and everybody else. And, the remaining team on FaZe's schedule is LAG for the split. So it's going to be 6-1, probably their record going this event with their only blemish against New York. And honestly, since New York, they haven't dropped the map. So, yeah, that's good. They're actually, I think, on the verge. If they win a couple maps in this series in a row, I think they're going to break their own record on consecutive maps once. So that's pretty good. I think a lot to like if you're a FaZe fan. Still haven't lost control. Map pool's looking good. And yeah, they're looking one of the top teams going into Miami. And another top team is the New York Subliners. They only had 1 match last week, and it was against LAG, and it was a cruise control match. And they were laughing the whole time, just like FaZe. They're just coming in, just coasting into this major in a good spot. Decent sized map pool. Paco's looking like a top player. Caesar's doing his thing. Dante's doing his thing. Bulldog's barking. There's a lot to like on this New York squad. They have a big match coming up. Big, huge, ginormous match coming up this week against OPTIC. If you're OPTIC, it's a huge confidence builder. And if OPTIC beats them, it's going to be an insane amount of parity amongst these top 4. But if New York win that, they will be undefeated going into the major 4 stage 2. And actually the same in reverse, and we'll talk about OPTIC because they're also in a position that if they do actually win this match against New York, they will be undefeated. And that Toronto victory was impressive. I have been very critical of OPTIC's S&D, but that was the best search I've seen from them in that matchup against Toronto. I think it was a respectable performance out of them and a bit of an upgrade from the Boston series we saw on Friday, where they went to game 5 against Boston. They went the full distance, and that wasn't, the most inspiring of performances. They need the round 11 Karachi to beat Boston, and Boston had taken a search and a control off of them. Look, at the end of the day, I still want to see a little bit more from OPTIC on the map pool before I say there's some like massively improved S&D team, but this is a good step in the direction, and all considered for OPTIC. I mean, if you beat New York undefeated, even if you don't, 6-1, top 4 seed going into the major, you're in a good spot, making progress as a team. I'm not going to move anyone up to potential contenders. This is starting to present a little bit of a problem with how I do this tier list, and I got to kind of figure it out. If you guys have suggestions in the comments, let me know, because I can keep doing this kind of thing where we just kind of leave this spot open, but there's just really nobody I see outside this top 4 that's like capable of winning an event. Like, let's talk about the teams I think are next possible, which we'll start with Vegas. They had a bit of an interesting week, only 1 match, and they lost to Thieves. Thieves actually beat them 3-1. So Vegas, although have coasted for most of the split, losses against Toronto and Thieves. They're sitting here at 3-2 with Seattle and Carolina coming up. So I still expect them to probably get on 4 wins. But, a lack of, I think, a good schedule is definitely, I think, in my eyes, giving Vegas a little bit of padding in this. But you look at all the other teams in this bottom 8, and I'm still confident leaving Vegas close in this spot. But let's talk about the rest of the teams. I can figure out how I want to order them. All right, we had 2 matchups for Boston this weekend. Unfortunately, they lost both of them. They got slammed by FaZe, and we just talked about the OPTIC series a bit before. I can't put Boston up here. I'm going to move them down here. We'll figure out how to order them. But there's a fundamental issue with this team right now as far as their consistency, and I just don't see them being in a position where they're going to figure it out with this crew. And they've got a Snoopy, in my eyes, a Snoopy and Asim size problem with their team. I know you just brought Asim in, but he hasn't been consistent, and Snoop makes a lot of questionable decisions. Preston's been inconsistent. Austin kind of has his play style. It's tough, man. I really just don't know if they're going to figure it out with this unit, but they'll probably ride or die in a major with them. Next up, we have the LA Thieves, and I can't believe I'm doing this, but I think I'm moving them in front of Vegas because they got slammed bad by Atlanta FaZe, and then they beat Vegas this weekend, so I can't put Vegas above them, right? Like, crazy thinking. Thieves are 3-2 in winners bracket. This has been a good regain. I still watching them play. I don't know, man. I still think the map pool is tiny. They got LG in Toronto. Comes the rest of the split. Like, I think they're probably going to end up being like 3-4, 4-3. But there's a possibility that Thieves, I think, can maybe sneak in a top 4 placing here with maybe an upset top 6 and like get their season back on track. But I still see a lot of weakness with this team and the map pool and hard point, and we can keep going, but we were panicking after week 1 with them. We're in a better spot now. Next up, we have the Minnesota Rocker, and they beat Seattle this week in their only matchup, with Miami coming up next. So they are sitting here at 1-5, and I'm going to move them down here because I'm still kind of convinced that this Minnesota team might get dead last at this tournament if the wrong team drops down to their losers bracket. So let's see how they do against Miami, but right now I can't really put them in a top 4 position. All right, next I have the Carolina Royal Ravens, who had a bit of a mixed week. They beat LAG and then lost to Miami. Do I move them up in the standings? I mean, I don't think so, man. This is the quandary that I'm in right now with these teams. I don't know how to. I kind of get how I want to order these bottom 8 teams, but I don't know how to distribute them amongst the tiers because there's a lot of instability amongst this crew. I'm really concerned about the slang on this Carolina team. Now, I think Fellow is probably going to get rotated out because you can't have both their ARs getting slammed every series. It killed them in the Miami one. They're still in a position to make winners bracket along with Boston somehow. But I don't really see them making a lot of noise in this one unless things just go their way on land, which I guess is entirely possible. All right, next up we have the Seattle Surge. I think I feel good about putting them in this spot. Obviously, they lost to Minnesota. Just a dead team. I don't really know. And don't really want to spend like too much crazy time in regards to Seattle. Like they're just they haven't improved at all in the respawn with this team. I know, again, we keep talking about every time we do this video, like, you know, they obviously losing Inter is big, but they're I'm gonna give you their respawn record this season to date. They're 9-18 a hard point and 3-13 in control. So 12-31 in respawn it's just ugly, man. They're still got a good S&D record and they're still treading water there, but that only gets you so far. And as far as, you know, being in the bottom 4, if they get maybe some couple of decent respawn maps and they grind out some series, I could see maybe like a top 6 or a top 8 this event if they get the right kind of draw. But it's looking like a tough one for Seattle. The remaining match is going to be against Vegas and Boston. So there's a possibility of winning at least one of those, but I think 10 CDL points might be what's remaining for them this split. A decent victory for Miami over the Minnesota Rocker this week. I think we got to respect that. Or Carolina rather, not Minnesota. And we got to respect because I thought they played the sub-base hard point to close that map well. I thought they played the S&D invasion well. And that's just the diversion of this Miami team. We just haven't seen a lot this split. We haven't seen it since the last week of qualifiers in stage 1. So I'm hoping in this match against Rocker coming up, we see a little bit more of that because if they can generate some momentum going to the event. Look, if you somehow get top 6 in this split for how bad you played for 3 weeks, like it's not the worst place in the world. I just haven't seen enough yet for me to move them farther up amongst this mediocre pile of teams here. So they're going to sit second to last. And last up, we have LAG, as we talked about. They lost to Carolina. They lost to New York this week. There's not much to say, man. This team needs a roster change. One of their ARs has to go. They are a terrible, terrible, terrible respawn team. They are 1-12. The stage in respawn, and the other 2 map wins were in S&D, which is funny because last split they were in S&D and they were like decent respawn, so that's inverted itself, which is not a good sign. Not much to remark about this team. They are trending in the wrong direction, likely going to get a very tough draw at the bracket. I just don't see it. if you can't win hard points and controls. So it's not looking good for them. Their remaining match is against Thieves, which is possible because LAG, we've talked about LA Thieves match up in the past, and somehow LAG's always won those. But Thieves is, the phase match is going to be a 20-minute series, and then, yeah, we'll see what happens in the bracket. But they're last for me in the list this week. Yeah, here we go. Toronto phase, New York Optic. Whatever, I'll order these. In my personal opinion, I think it probably goes something like this. I really actually think that Toronto probably wins the rematch with Optic, but I don't know. We'll see. I liked what I saw from Optic. I think Optic is an opportunity to really vault this list if they beat New York. But FaZe for me right now is a team I feel the most comfortable going in, but maybe I should put New York ahead just because they beat FaZe. So I think we'll do that. I think that's a fair kind of way to rank at the moment. These in Vegas in that order I like, and then Carolina, Boston, Minnesota, Seattle, Miami, LAG seems about right. Like Thieves in Vegas are the only teams I see right now that I think have a good chance of getting like a lucky top 4 or a really good gritty top 6 in this event. Everybody else has, like Carolina, Boston, and Rock, I can see it. You just got to win 2 series. But Thieves in Vegas are playing a little better than some of the squads. So that's why I have them ahead. So that's what we got. I got to maybe rethink the tiers on this tier list. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Obviously, like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more. I'm going to recap Challenger stuff this week from the Elite. That'll be the next video. We're going to do a Q&A. I'm going to do a video and talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing in Miami. So I'll be coming as well with my predictions and a bunch of other stuff. So make sure you check that out. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.